Hi there, I'm Leah Raven, the Empress of Anarchy, your current reigning Odyssey Pro Wrestling Women's Champion, and you are listening to the Morecambe Wrestling podcast.
Indeed you are. And as we do this podcast, and as it comes out, we are literally 24 hours away from Odyssey Pro Wrestling Mutiny and the Women's Championship being on the line. So I'm delighted to speak to not only the longest reigning of any of the champions in Odyssey Pro Wrestling, but also the longest reigning women's wrestling champion in Morecambe wrestling history. We're talking 615 days, 5 successful title defenses, 6 defense coming up on Saturday against Lana Austin, the Empress of Anarchy. Leah Raven joins the Morecambe Wrestling podcast. How are you doing, Leah?
I'm very well, and someone got the facts right for today, didn't they? Amazing. I love it.
I don't normally like AI, but I just put into Google October the 7th, 2023. How many days has it been since then? And it was very helpful indeed. So yeah, 615 days. How does that make you feel?
Oh, amazing. Absolutely. I've always felt quite honoured to hold that and to have it that long. It's amazing to say, for want of a better word.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about that title reign and how we've got to this Saturday at Mutiny. But I always go back to the very beginning when we do these interviews. And did you grow up a wrestling fan? Did you know much about British wrestling in particular before you got into it?
No, nothing at all. I grew up around, as most of us did, WWE. I watched that all the time. So when I actually found the British wrestling scene, I didn't know a lot about it all. I'm still probably learning now what's out there, what people have to offer. But no, I hadn't got a clue about anything in Britain at all. Nothing, not a thing.
So what year would it have been when you first got into it? Actually, just going back to that, you were doing boxing and MMA before you got into wrestling, is that right?
I was, yeah. I did a lot of boxing and MMA training, exhibition in charity matches for both of them, and the MMA experience I did in a cage in 2019. So, yeah, I've been wrestling training now since 2018, I believe. Yeah, going on to 2018. But yeah, it's just, it's mental. It's crazy. But yeah, just going from that kind of background to this, it was a switch. It had its challenges, but I think it helped a lot as well. Definitely.
So were you more of a fan of that? You were obviously a fan of combat sports. Were you more of a fan of boxing and MMA than you were wrestling, or was it pretty much all the same?
To be honest, I think I was more of a wrestling fan than I was the boxing and MMA. Hello. That is Milo.
We've got a guest on the Morecambe Wrestling. Another guest on the Morecambe Wrestling.
We've got another guest. We've got a furry guest. But yeah, I think I was still more of a wrestling fan than I was the boxing and MMA fan. But me, as I am, I like to challenge myself. And I felt the boxing could do that. Through boxing training, I then found the MMA experience, which you train for around, I think it's, if I remember rightly, 6 weeks, and then you get put into matches. And I was practicing MMA and like dabbling in it back then, and then I did that. So yeah, it kind of spanned from there. But where I found, they're headphones. I found wrestling while I was boxing, so it was kind of really it was a perfect crossover at the time. But yeah, very lucky I found it when I did. Can I have those?
I think as Milo clearly wants in on the interview, we need to find out a little bit about him.
You do. You're coming up. Come on then.
How old's Milo?
He is 6 months. No, not 6 months. I'm lying. 16 weeks. Sorry.
16 weeks. What breed?
Yeah, he is a Sprocker Spaniel.
Excellent.
No, you can't chew the headphones because Dad will not be impressed if you chew those. Thank you. Good boy. Yeah, he's hates phones. He hates anything that takes attention off him. He's proper FOMO all the time. He but he's lovely. I love him to bits.
Excellent.
Gives me a lot of attention as well.
Does he like watching wrestling?
We actually put money in the bank on yesterday in front of him, and he was actually sat watching it. So I think he is.
He's
but
probably
he also likes Disney, so
he's probably a fan of the podcast, to be fair. So yes, it's good.
You never know.
Good to have him on. Good to have him on. So you said you started around about 2018. So whereabouts was that then, Leah?
That was a local promotion in Wolverhampton. At the time, Fight Club Pro. I started there, and it was Trent Seven that actually got me to try it out. So there's a story. But yeah, I just kept putting it off for so long because at the time, like, he was kind of like, you do something. And I was like, oh, take a guess, because I do that. I'm like, oh, you'll never guess. And when I said that I did boxing training, he was like, oh, you should try our training. I said, nah. And I said a phrase, even now, I can't believe I said it because I take it back. A phrase you should never say in wrestling. I said, wrestling's fake, isn't it? I ate my words very quickly after starting. But after a few months, I did try one. And that day, I never did another boxing training session. I never went back to it. So that kind of tells you how much the love is there. So.
And Trent Seven at the time, I mean, he was signed to WWE, so he was part of NXT
I believe
UK.
so, yeah.
Yeah, and really making a name for himself. So great guy to be like an inspiration for getting involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with he's still doing now as well. But it's just mad because my first show actually, if I from what I remember, it had the likes of Omari, Millie McKenzie, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis as a tag team at the time. Aussie Open, I believe they were called. There was also Miko Satomura on there, and Session Moth Martina was also there. Which, look where they all are now. It's crazy. So I think I chose probably the best show at the time for talent wise. Because I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And at the time, I didn't realise that there were probably some big talent still on the show that I probably haven't named. But yeah, it's kind of like WWE, but some people were on it as well. So yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. So for that to be my first one, I think if I'd have gone to something else, I probably wouldn't have been as much intrigued. But yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
So that was the first show you went to then?
Yes.
Fight Club Pro.
Yes, it was.
And then training, because your debut I think was it 2022 your debut? Was that right? So was that quite a bit of time training, and obviously COVID would have been in the middle of that.
Yeah. So I trained, I think we're going into 2019. I got an injury. I didn't know at the time, but part of my mobility was already weakened. So it was an element of why I got injured so easily. So I was out then for over a year because I had to wait so many months for surgery, and then it was 12 months rehab. But then COVID hit as well, so it kind of like crossed over quite nicely. When I come back, I did. I don't think I've ever mentioned this. So you've got a very nice bit of information that probably nobody else knows. I did debut back in 2019 under a different name. But it was my one and only match under that name because it went very quickly. But yeah, back then I think I called myself Luna Ray back then. Yeah, no, not for me. Didn't like the name, didn't stick. But then Leah has stuck very, very nicely. So I don't try and overthink a lot of things. Everything that kind of flows, I'll stick with. But yeah, 2022, I believe, was Leah Raven's debut. If I remember right, 2022 LWF, maybe?
Lancashire Wrestling Federation. So yeah, up in so not too far from Morecambe, I guess that would have been.
No, I don't think it's too far at all. But yeah, it was a rumble, but I didn't get in. like a rumble. So when I got in, it was just me and Gia Adams. So it was basically little mini singles with Gia, which is why that was so nice to have a payoff as a singles at Future Shock. But yeah, that doesn't feel like that long ago, actually. Making me feel old.
Well, it's not, and that's the thing. You've achieved so much in such a short space of time, which is fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
your name, I mean, obviously Raven is a big wrestling name.
It is.
Was that part of your thinking, or was there another reason?
Nope. I actually can. When I started to like branch out a bit, like outside of WWE, I kind of found like NJPW, TNA, and things like that. I didn't click about Raven at first, and it sounds so bad, but no, like I started looking at different wrestlers' elements and characteristics and psyche, and kind of putting that into something I like that fit me. And Raven's pose coming out and the energy was kind of how I started. So he kind of had a little bit of element in the end, but no, behind the name, nothing.
Well, it was really cool with the history of Morecambe Wrestling and the fact that Raven wrestled in Morecambe at the very first War on the Shore 20 years ago, and there you were 20 years on in the first match of the 20th anniversary of War on the Shore. So
everything happens for a reason.
The Raven legacy continuing. So you debuted in 2022 against Gia Adams. You mentioned a rumble for LWF, and it really wasn't that long at all before you made your debut for Odyssey Pro Wrestling. And again, I mean, did you know much about Morecambe and Odyssey before you started with them?
I know I came down to a few shows beforehand. I started helping with the merch tables and things. So I kind of got the idea of what the crowd was like, but I didn't have a clue what I was in for. It is real in Morecambe is the strongest, most truest saying I can ever live by. But no, I had no clue other than that. And when I got told you are debuting, I was a nervous wreck, I'm not going to lie, because I knew the crowd was so different compared to everywhere else. So I just didn't know what the impression would be. I didn't know how they'd be with me, nothing. So I think it was like more pressure because it's so different. But yeah, it's just, again, it seems like a lifetime ago.
Everybody mentions the crowd, and you're absolutely right about the special atmosphere at the Morecambe Wrestling shows. One thing I've not asked about before, and this is something that really struck me, going in there properly for the first time at the last show, is the dressing room, the atmosphere in the dressing room. How did you find that in comparison to other places that you've worked?
It was just so, I don't know if it's going to explain it very well, but so together. Everyone's kind of ramped up, ready to go. Everyone's got each other. Everyone's listening. It's just such almost like a family feel to it. But yeah, like Odyssey's always been, I don't think it's just really Morecambe. I think it's real Odyssey. Because there's nothing hidden. Everything's just true to as it is. Everyone has a bit of fun. The emotion's raw for sure.
Yeah, that's very much my experience as well. Coming into it last time, it just felt so welcoming and everybody pulling together for the good of the show.
Yeah,
which was great. When you get to shows, are you the kind of person? Do you kind of keep yourself to yourself, focus on your match? Do you kind of have time to speak to other wrestlers or anybody you particularly like hanging out with?
When I first get there, I make sure I say hi to as many people as can. Everybody gets hi, how are you? Have a chat. When we go backstage and like people are there, we'll have the chat on everybody and who's in what order. Like this match is going to happen at this time, X, Y, Z. But I wouldn't say I keep to myself. I'm quite. If someone speaks to me, I'll speak to them as well, or I'll be going around chatting and things. So it's quite relaxed, and I like that because I don't want to feel like stressed out for the day or whatever. But no, I think it's a lot of a much more calmer atmosphere now that I've actually like gone from the really nervous debut to kind of go, oh, actually, it's really chill. Didn't take long to settle into that mind. So, yeah.
And that debut, which was back in 2022, I think was a tag match because you teamed with Alexis Falcon, I think, from memory. Panic Stations. Yeah, against Jenny B and Kelly Van Ness, I believe.
Wow. that shocked me. Yeah. Gosh, that's a while. But yeah, Kelly. Because I remember a certain spot where she just didn't want to hit me. And I pushed her out the way because Jenny was coming for me. I would just push her out the way so I could basically get rid of Jenny B. Because no, I didn't want to hurt her either. But hey, Boo Brooker, right? So Boo Brooker. That was because of Brooker. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I do like to be reminded of some things because I don't remember like the order of my matches, but I remember some of them. Like I remember I've had them. But yeah, that's amazing. That was my debut actually. It's crazy. Yeah.
I know you did a lot of training and done a lot of work over the years at Future Shock Wrestling as well at the PC. You mentioned Chris Brooker there, obviously was a major figure in Morecambe Wrestling at that time with the spotlight. And Sam Bailey and Chris Ridgway, who over the years have been major figures in Morecambe Wrestling as well. I think they've had quite a bit of a hand in your training as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Bailey was probably the main one more so. I have had a few sessions with Ridgway. I believe I went to a seminar years ago as well with Ridgway. But Bailey was the one that kind of was like made me believe in me a lot more. Because when I first debuted for LWF and Future Shock and everything, he was the one behind that a lot. Because I was very much like, I started training with Simon because Simon wanted a little to train basics just to get a little bit more insight. And I was quite done with wrestling back then. I was like, I haven't got an interest in going back to training. But honestly, we got in the ring, we did a few rolls, showed him how to do those, we locked up. And then all I showed him was a wrist lock reversal. And it was the look on his face that was like, people still love this. People still believe in this. And that's when I was like, okay, I'll dabble. And he started training with Sam Bailey and asked if I wanted to come. And since then, it just stayed. And Sam was like, like you're ready to go. Have you got gear? Oh, by the way, you're debuting. Huh? So I kind of had not much of a choice there. But that is also where I met Lana Austin. I trained under Lana Austin for a bit as well. And when I first started, I was constantly asking, I want a match with Lana. I want a match with Lana. Can I have a match with Lana? Can you please do this? When? And I probably did his head in that much with it. But one day he released that was going to be my next match. After that match, I didn't win that match, but I remember coming backstage and he just gave me the biggest hug ever. And I was just so flooded with emotion because I was like, I did that. And it was almost like I'd achieved one of my goals. I'd achieved a dream. But it was so overwhelming because I held my own. I did that match. But also Lana showed a bit of respect there. So she come back in the ring and raised my arm. So, hey, we all win. But yeah, a lot happened with Future Shock that I can never repay because they have made me what I am today, most definitely.
And you had a really an epic reign as Future Shock Women's Champion as well.
Absolutely, I've broke 3 records I think for that. And again, I never thought for a minute that I'd hold either of the belts, let alone be a double record breaker for both of those. It's quite like I'm quite honored that both companies allowed me to do that. Just in its, I think the last match I had at Future Shock was a street fight again with Lana Austin. 3 stages of Future Shock, we called it. And I think even now that is my best match to date. Easy.
Well, things are definitely escalating with Lana in Morecambe as well, and we'll talk about that again in a little bit. But let's just go back again to, you've made your debut 2022, 2023 at War on the Shore. You faced Jenny B for the title. I think Alexis was the champion, but she wasn't there that night, and the title was made vacant. And I think you then came in to wrestle Jenny for the vacant title. Didn't quite win that one, but any memories of that? Because obviously War on the Shore is the biggest show of the year, and that would have been your first appearance there.
It was a long journey, shall we say? Because Jackie B, I'll never forget those two. Caused me all sorts of mayhem. Jackie B learned not to get in the ring with Leah Raven because I will put you out of it. So once I kind of caught on with what was going on and everything, it turned into I became champion because I'd caught on to a lot of the tricks. I'd caught on to a lot of how they worked, and they just weren't prepared for me to do that. So, and champion ever since.
Yeah, that was, I think it was a three-way when you did beat Jenny B for the title. Yeah. Lily Winter was in it as well, which was, Panic Stations 2023. And as you say, you've held that title ever since then. You had an injury last year, Leah, which kind of, put the brakes on things for a little bit. What happened there?
There was a couple of different injuries. So initially I injured my rotator cuff during a match. I went and had it checked. I had it rehabbed. Eventually that did heal. I was in a shoulder brace. So I should have been in a shoulder brace for the street fight with Lana Austin at Future Shock. I took it off because I took it off before that match because I didn't want to restrict myself in that match whatsoever. I wanted to be completely as I was. But I did wear it to Odyssey because I just didn't want to injure it any further. But after that match where I did take it off, I never felt it again, even to this day. So I'm very grateful for that. But I then had issues with my other knee where I was getting a lot of pain. Got that checked and I was diagnosed with a pain syndrome in my knees, which is brilliant, just what you want. I now suffer with pain in both knees every now and again, but it's maintained. But the main one that took me out and completely finished it for me was I suffered a rib torso injury. So I tore, I think it was a grade 2 tear in my intercostal muscles between my ribs. Very difficult to do anything. And I knew then I would probably have to relinquish both of them and take a back seat for a bit. I was told that the actual tear in my muscle could take quite a long time to heal. I did relinquish one title and I didn't with the Odyssey at the time because I felt like I'm going to be okay. And I was totally fine to come back. But after that injury, I think I had to cancel twice for Odyssey because of it. But because it was improving so much, I didn't relinquish. But management were very much behind me and they're like, we don't want you to. We're here. Let us know how you're doing. And I was like, absolutely. And then I came back and the reception I got was amazing, to be honest. The feeling of being backstage, it was like I was having my first match for them all over again. I was nervous because I didn't know how they were going to react. I didn't know what had happened while I was away. So it was, do they still want me champion here? It was a lot of questions, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of what ifs. But yeah, I just went for it. It was always the same. The second I come through that curtain, it's tunnel vision. Everything else is gone. There's no questions. You are in your head and whatever's in front of you is in front of you at the time. You don't think about anything else. So yeah, a moment that I'll never forget for sure. And
am I right in saying that was your actual first match back anywhere? Overboard Rumble, 3-way, you defending the title against Lana Austin and Holly Barlow.
Yeah, 1st of Feb was my first match back, and it was literally on the cusp of being cleared as well. And so I was worried, don't get me wrong, I was. But yeah, I was sat, I think it was November, I was sat here and I was like, I'm going back. And I just remember looking at Simon, he goes, what? And I was like, I'm going back. And I had all the graphics done. I had everything made. I had gear being made. I had everything in the works. It was like, this, I'm going. I gave myself January just purely because I wanted that as much time as physically possible. But I was also conscious as well that Odyssey run every 2 months. But I wanted them to be my first one back because of the support they'd shown me at the time. So it was like, right, it would have been middle of Feb, to be honest, if I'd have pushed it anymore. But I said 1st of Feb that is when I'm going back. So yeah, it was the very first match back.
You've mentioned Simon a couple of times. Simon Hill we're talking about, aren't we?
Simon Hill, yeah.
Odyssey Pro Wrestling legendary commentator. He's your partner, is that right?
He is indeed. He is indeed. I should say, unfortunately.
On your matches, is that right? For Odyssey, I'm sure he has.
He has. He is. I think he's done everything now. So he's actually commentated my matches. He's ring announced me, everything. But yeah, it's weird him not being at Odyssey. I will say that it's very weird him not being there. But I'm sure. I think they called him the sweetheart of British wrestling. I don't hear the end of that ever. But yeah, Simon was a big support back then as well. And even my first match back, he was there, just not in person. He was being videoed through my phone at the time. He was watching everything. So yeah, it was really good. Oh no, he was commentating that first match, wasn't he? Come back for that.
No, I think it was Magic Mark and Mark Adams and Lucy Simons.
Yes, it was. I'm thinking of something else, but no, he was there. He would. I know
he's got an important job at Walsall Football Club, hasn't he? So
yeah, he's got that as well. He's never not busy. So you saw him at the start. He's no longer here. He's left the building. So that's how much we see each other. So I'll come in from the gym. He'll leave to go to the gym. But yeah, I finished work at 4:30. Literally had half hours at the gym. Yeah, it's like clockwork. We just pass in, I think. But yeah, now that we've got Milo, we do a lot of crisscrossing. But Milo's our little is it chaperone? He little chaperone us everywhere. Our little snuggle buddy when we want him, and our travel companion. He has his front seat. He's in the car. He has his own little seat. Everything. So he's a very spoiled doggo. Very spoiled. And
thankfully has stopped eating the headphones, which is good.
Good thankfully, news. Yeah, because Simon would kill me. He'd be like, But no, he doesn't usually chew. But if your attention's elsewhere, when we first had him, Simon's phone went from one side of the sofa to the other very quickly. He's like, I don't want it. So we learned very quickly that Milo does not like technology, which, like Mum. But if he chews my books, there's going to be issues. But he loves the attention on him. He loves it. But yeah, you don't see much active on social media, that's probably why. Because me and Simon will have our phones taken away. They'll be banned. They'll be put in the doggy safe somewhere. But yeah, he's great.
Well, you came to War on the Shore, the 20th anniversary of War on the Shore. That was my sort of comeback to wrestling in Morecambe after a lot of years away. And I had the privilege of ring announcing your match with Lana alongside Silent Mark. And one of my first impressions of that match was you coming to the ring with your hat on and then placing it right on my head. I do need hats on this head from time to time. And Silent Mark turned to me and said, and we were discussing whether I looked a little bit like the Undertaker, and that then got me to do a little bit of research, Leah. And am I right in thinking you've actually met the Undertaker?
I have indeed. I have.
Tell us the story.
So the Undertaker has been my idol, my superstar, my everything since I was really little. Not a crush by any means, not at all, but he's just been the superstar of like everything. Even down to in my school work, I put him, John Cena, and Randy Orton in my photography work. He's been in my artwork. I've actually started a drawing of Undertaker. God, we're going back a couple now. But he's always been a great inspiration of mine for everything. And one of the sayings he said was, when you start not to feel nervous, when you start not to love something, is the time to stop. And I've lived by that with everything in life, not just wrestling. But it is one of those, if I'm no longer feeling nervous, it means I don't care. If I'm no longer in love with the atmosphere, it's time to go. So it's something I've always lived by with everything I do. But yeah, I got to meet him. So he come over here for his, what's it called now? His talk show. I can't think what it's called now. Dead Man something. And I snapped that up. Absolutely. I wasn't missing out on that ever. I did the VIP, so I did get to meet him, and we were just having a general chit chat, and his agents were like, come on. He was like, I'm busy. I was like, I'm busy. Give me 5. But I genuinely thought it was going to be like a lookalike. I genuinely didn't think he'd be in the building. I was like, I'm going to be so miffed. And I got in, and it was him. And I have never met a taller guy. He was tall, and he went to shake my hand. Now, I know I'm small, but when he goes to shake my hand and my hand disappears, I didn't know how to react. I was lost for words. I couldn't talk. And I showed him like clips and photos of me, and I said, what I could get out was, you are the inspiration behind this. And he went, this is you? And I was like, yeah. And he went, wow. And he says, come with me. And he was signing the artwork that we get. And he gave me a piece of advice. And he then said, like, it's humbling, because for me to just be an inspiration to one person is amazing. And I was like, there is no way on this planet that you do not know you're a legend. There's no way that you cannot believe you are an inspiration to one person, let alone the millions of people that all over the globe. But he was so humble about it, and he was like, I'm so glad I've helped in a way. This is amazing to me. And I was like, you are mad. But we were having a general chit chat, so I kind of got a little bit extra than everybody else, and I love that. Sat through his show. The stories he told were amazing. And then at the end, he was like high-fiving people, and I started to walk down the aisle to come out. And he pointed me out and like called me over. He held my hand and he was like, don't give up, and I'll be seeing you soon. And I was like, come again? And I just like turned around, because I said, like, everyone laughed at me, oh, you'll cry. I was like, no, I won't. I turned around, that I left the VIP and went, haha, didn't. I turned around and I was in tears. I was like, oh my God, he's just picked me out of the crowd. I felt like the luckiest person on this God-given planet. And I am fangirling, and I don't care. Like, he's been my inspiration for photography, artwork in general. So yeah, that was the best, most amazing experience for me. And if you're going to ask about the hat, yes, that's where the inspiration come from. Of course it did. Of course it did.
I thought as much. What was the piece of advice he gave you, if you don't mind me asking?
I love just reminding myself of it a few times, and just like every day I'll have like a little quote somewhere. But he actually said, if there's one piece of advice I can give you, is ride the waves. He says, because you're going to go up, you're going to go down. Your matches, you need it to go up, down. He says, in life, it goes up and down. You're going to have your best moments, you're going to have your low moments. He said, ride the waves. He went, go with the flow. He said, stay humble, don't settle for anything. That was the main one. He says, if I can give you anything, is stay humble and never settle for anything. And I was like, that's mental. But when I look back on the don't settle for anything, I kind of was like, actually, he never actually settled for anything, because I found out he very much loves the American badass character that he plays. He does like it, but he prefers it over the dead man. But everybody loves the dead man. So I wouldn't say towards the end of his career, because let's be honest, he probably will make more appearances. But towards the end of his in-ring appearances, he started to cross over the two. And that's what I started to pick up on. I was like, something's crossing over here. So he was never actually purely just the dead man. He was a mixture at that point. He was like, what do you call him? A hybrid. But yeah, to hear him speak about himself so humbly, and yet he is the biggest legend. It's mental. But to me, he's not my favorite because he's the legend. He's my favorite because of how he lives, how he's always lived, how he's always gone. So even down to my favorite ever match in WWE was Undertaker versus Triple H with Shawn Michaels as the ref. That, for me, like, you've got a lot of the time, why do you do something? And in that match, there was so much emotion, so much story. And it was like, I always pick that apart, like, to try and not imitate, but almost take something away that I can implement into my own. And I always come away with something different. But that match was beyond words. It had emotion, it had story, it had feeling, it had aggression, it had everything. It was brilliant. That's
an amazing story. And he certainly is a legend and an absolute inspiration. And fantastic that you got to meet him.
I'd do it now. All over again. I would definitely do it again.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Mutiny. Let's talk about Lana Austin. You mentioned Lana before, about how you have wrestled Lana many times before. You had that street fight in Future Shock, which was one of your you said it was your best match or your favorite match to date, and you had your first match with Future Shock with Lana, I think you said as well. So yes. You've clearly wrestled her a lot. You've clearly wrestled her a lot.
Yeah. And TNT Ignition debut was Lana. ICW debut was Lana. I've done variations. I wrestled Lana in a I can't think what it's called now. I can't think what it's called. But it was for the Progress title, and it was the first, basically, to two pins.
2 out of 3 falls.
Yes, 2 out of 3 falls was the one. Yeah, 2 out of 3 falls match for the Progress women's title. So we have done quite a lot of variations and matches. We've done it at different promotions, in front of different crowds. So we have done quite a lot. But every time I come out, I learn something different. I learn something new, which is why we've probably done it loads.
And in Morecambe, this started with the 3-way that we mentioned before. Your first match back, February the 1st, Overboard Rumble. The 3-way, Holly Barlow was in the match as well. And it all started very friendly. I mean, even before that, you and Lana in Odyssey Pro Wrestling were very friendly. Best friends. I've seen a backstage interview, I think, middle of 2024, where she's kind of giving you a bit of advice. Yeah. And, basically saying that, the two of you are best friends. And certainly that match at Overboard Rumble, still a lot of respect there. And then going into War on the Shore, the 20th anniversary show, it's 1-on-1 for the title. The fans see a different side of you. And you basically got, for want of a better term, got yourself disqualified, used the ring belt and then the title belt, and something that people had never seen from you before. Mm-hmm. What's your reasoning behind that? I know you've done an interview where you've explained it, but what's your reasoning behind that?
I pretty much think I covered why in a promo. So a lot, as I come out, that was the biggest question on everybody's mind, was why. The biggest saying for me is true friends stab you in the front, not the back. I got stabbed in the back one too many times. Taking a pin, but then questioning why I'm taking yours. Bit one-sided. Coming out to save me, but then you know where to be seen any other time. Giving the advice when there's cameras around, but not any other time. There's no loyalty with Lana. And then it come down to Odyssey management. I know there's been a lot of changes, but I didn't see no support when they didn't put my face on a poster for 5 or 6 shows. And as you said, as we started the interview off, I've been Odyssey Pro Wrestling Women's Champion for 615 days. I have broken every champion's record in Odyssey. Everyone. And you're putting Lana Austin on there that has attended a handful of shows. So they stabbed me in the back too. So it was very much like, I've had enough and I'm gonna take it. And that's what I did. And even during that match, it was like, I'm better than you. I can get one over on you. So then the Empress is very much here. It's not Leah Raven, the Empress of Anarchy. It's not. The intro is literally, she is Leah Raven, the Empress of Anarchy. It's not the Empress of Anarchy, Leah Raven anymore. Leah Raven died away the second I came back, I think. The second I came back, she was slowly gone. And now the Empress is here to stay. When I say I'm here to prove a lot. I'm here to prove a lot. I'm not going to be taken for a mug just because I'm nice. I'm not going to take disrespect because you think we're friends. No, you want me to think we're friends so you can go about and take everything. Too much has happened. Too much has gone under that bridge. So yeah, I use the belt. It's
so is this
simple as that?
So is this a demonstration of just how much you want to keep that championship?
Yeah, because I have built that championship to what it is. Odyssey did not make that championship. Lana Austin did not make that championship. I made that championship. I have made that championship mean something. I have fans chanting for the champion, not for anybody else, for their champion. And that belt meant nothing in the hands of any former champion. It meant nothing. The people I have faced, what I've done with it, the record breaks I've done with it, I have made Odyssey mean something in a way. And they decided, oh, we're not even going to advertise that she's here. Brilliant. And then what I found hilarious was after that, they put my face on the poster for this one. Too little, too late. You never thought of me any other time. So when I say no one is prepared for the change, they're not prepared for the change that is coming. It's visually, mentally changing. They're not going to recognize who comes out.
I'll ask about how they might react in a minute, but just to get absolutely clear on the poster situation, Leah. So it's the fact that they didn't advertise your comeback after injury. Obviously, you've been injured, you've been out for a number of months, and they didn't put your face on the poster for that comeback show. Is that what's really, and then War on the Shore as well, the 20th anniversary show. Is that what's really upset you?
A few more than that, but absolutely. Like, I have built your promotion. I have built this championship to what it is. And all of a sudden, I'm injured, and I mean nothing. I meant nothing the second I got injured. And before I got injured, because I heard a few people stuttering around saying, oh, I was injured, so I'm going to keep it just to spite myself. No, they wanted me to keep that championship. They were behind me, but I beat their records before I was injured.
Okay. So are you prepared for, obviously the fans will have seen what happened at War on the Shore. The rematch is happening at Mutiny. Previously, you've been cheered, you've been very popular. The fans were sort of half confused. Some were still cheering you, some weren't happy, some were quite confused by your actions. Are you prepared on Saturday if you get a totally different reception to what you've had before?
Oh, totally. Because if you were loyal and if you saw what I saw, you'd have the back of your Empress of Anarchy. If you didn't and you want to side with a backstabber, I'll get booed. But some people will still be confused. They'll be waiting to see if I've changed my mind. They'll be waiting to see what my actions are. They'll pick a side eventually.
I mean, I guess a lot of people will support Lana because 10 years, I think next year is the 10th anniversary of wrestling in Morecambe. She's a former Morecambe Wrestling champion. I think it was back in 2017. It's 8 years since she's held that title. I mean, I suppose a lot of people will be behind that quest. But it'll be interesting to see. By the sound of things, you're prepared either way.
Absolutely. So not even Lana is prepared for the change. Lana can say she's been my friend. Lana can say she's trained me. Lana can say we've had all these matches. But it's not Leah coming into this match anymore. It's the Empress of Anarchy. She hasn't trained me for a while. I've been at New Wave. I've been hanging around with some different people. But as I say, the change she's not prepared for. She no longer knows who she's getting in the ring with. So
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
We will. Yeah, definitely. Tomorrow night at Mutiny. Leah Raven defending the Odyssey Pro Wrestling Women's Championship and that it'll be tomorrow, 16-day reign, record-breaking reign as champion. Last thing just to ask you, Leah, is you've mentioned ICW, Progress, Future Shock, obviously Odyssey, numerous other promotions. Have you wrestled overseas? Is that something that you want to do? And what else are you hoping to achieve in your career? What are your goals?
I haven't actually wrestled abroad yet, apart from ICW, Scotland. I would like to go abroad. I have set my sights to do that. So fingers crossed. Anyone listening? But yeah, in terms of here, I'd just like to keep extending this record-breaking reign as well, as we all do. I also would love to return to Future Shock at some point this year. I haven't been back since I relinquished the title. But in terms of debuts, absolutely, there's still plenty more I can do. But one that I really want to do is Eve. I would love to debut for those, as well as North. Those two were in the sights. So either by the end of this year, end of next year, end of this year, beginning of next year, got those mixed up. I'd love to go there. And because not just because I would like to debut for Progress, I have fought for the belt, but I wasn't actually on one of their shows. So I would absolutely love to be there as well. I want to get to a few seminars, one in particular, OTT. I'd love to go to there. I'd love them. I love the atmosphere. It's amazing. That is in works. So fingers crossed I actually get to go to the seminars. But yeah, get to a few more seminars. We'll see who comes up. But yeah, I'm hoping certain people do because I'd love to get their insight, their knowledge and things like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the changes I'm making. I'm not going to say just yet because there is a big reveal. But I can't wait. I have never been more comfortable, never been more confident than what I am in this. There are some people that have seen it. I have got a picture of Holly Bollow's reaction to said reveal. So, but yeah, I'm super looking forward to it because it's just something I can lean into. It's something I can just have so much fun with. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm looking to extend that as well. But yeah, just in terms of debuts and getting abroad, absolutely. In terms of opponents, I'd wrestle everybody every day. I'd love to learn from everybody because you can learn for so many people. I would love to wrestle Lizzie ever again. absolutely amazing. I've only ever faced her once at Future Shock. I'd love to do it again. Lana, because you absolutely learn something new every time. In terms of new, Holly Barlow, I would love to have a singles with. I know we had a triple threat. She kicked me square off the side of the ring and suplexed me on the outside. So I think it could be a lot of fun. Oh, gosh. I'd love a singles with Charlie Evans. We have recently had a tag for the first time ever. We used to train together. So to have a singles would be just ace. So ace. I have said I would wrestle Sam Bailey, Chris Ridgway, Flash Morgan Webster because coaches. But also because they have so much more insight as well. And they can I think they could blow my mind during a match, let alone after. But as well, Wild Boar, because he is the exact same in training as he is in ring. And I think he could literally put me to the test. He could push limits. And because I like a challenge, I think that's where that's come from. Just there's so many people I want to wrestle that we'd be here all day. But just to name a few, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, hopefully you'll get your wishes with those, Leah. This big reveal sounds interesting.
Oh, I can't wait.
Are we going to get this at Mutiny?
You never know. You never know. It could be over way quicker than what you think. So maybe. But you'll never know. You never know.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see. So some interesting insight there and some interesting exclusives from the, well, I've got to get it right now. Leah Raven, the Empress of Anarchy.
Exactly.
Record breaking and reigning and defending Odyssey Pro Wrestling Women's Champion, facing Lana Austin at Alhambra Live tomorrow night at Mutiny. Get your tickets. Don't miss it. Leah, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much. And all the best to Simon and, of course, to Milo as well.
Oh, he's just chilling at the minute. He's going to be absolutely fine when I come off here. He's going to be jumping around for joy.
Great stuff. I'll let you get back to him. Thank you so much for chatting to us on the Morecambe Wrestling podcast.